say, okay, fine, get covered, quit, and then we'll write you a non-smoker policy, which if you do it in the next 2 to 3 years, it's still going to be cheaper than the smoker policy.
Yeah.
What if it's not tobacco smoke?
Well, unless that question is on the application, we don't ask it, and you should not volunteer it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Because every company has their own set of criteria and questions and so on and so forth.
Because there is not a box on the application that says, but that's different when it comes to that. So just,
But a lot of times, if it does come up, if you do have to take a physical and it does come back that you smoke marijuana, they're going to treat you like a tobacco user.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And that's when people really get their back up. Because then they'll say, but I don't smoke cigarettes.
Right.
But you smoke this. And that's how they're going to treat the risk. They're going to treat you like a smoker. Or they could decline you.
Yeah.
They do a physical with both policies?
Huh?
Do they do a physical with both policies?
It depends on the amount of coverage.
Okay.
Right. So there are policies that don't require a physical at all.
Well, absolutely. We specialize in those.
So tell us about them.
Well, they're lower.
We should have led with that.
Huh? They're lower, but as a rule, we can get you coverage up to about $250,000 without a physical. We call those non-medical underwriting. So underwriting is the process that insurance companies go through to assess the risk, your health, your lifestyle, and your finances. All those things. If you're making $0.00, a life insurance company is going to question you for a big policy. Now, can you have a small policy if you're making no money? As long as you can pay for it.
Right.
But a big policy, earning no income, is going to throw up red flags.
Right.
We also had a case one time that got declined. The client was going through bankruptcy, and he wanted a couple $1 million of coverage. And the company came back and said, no. I had never heard this in 30 years, but I understood the logic. Because he was having financial difficulty, he might be planning to kill himself.
Oh, yeah.
In 2 years. And if he killed himself after 2 years of having the policy, his family would get those millions.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was a little far-fetched, but that was a human being's assessment, which I could not.
I've always heard that suicide wasn't covered under life insurance.
2 years. It's called what is called with an insurance company, insurance policy is a contestability period. That's 2 years. If you die in the first 2 years of a policy, they can question everything. If they find out you had a bad heart and you knew about it, they will cancel the policy. They will pay your beneficiary the premium.
Okay.
Because a life insurance policy is a legal contract. So if the contract gets voided, the money gets returned.
Oh.
So whenever I'm watching these cop shows where the person killed themselves and they say there's no payout, I'm always like, well, how old was the policy?
Right.
Okay.
But people that are wealthy, I'll give you a story. You are familiar with the tennis player James Blake?
Yeah.
All right. So James Blake had a house in Tampa, $1.6 million, that he rented out to a guy and his wife and kid.
Oh man.
He went to a fireworks superstore, bought $650 worth of fireworks, drugged his family, lit James Blake's house ablaze, and killed everybody.
Yeah.
And that was planned. So those things happen. They don't happen a lot with folks that look like us, but they happen.
So if it was something that they can prove that was planned, they don't pay out, right?
You're like, how again?
Repeat that. You froze.
Oh, did I really? Sorry. So if it's something that seems like it was planned, they don't pay out.
Inside of 2 years.
Yeah.
Outside of 2 years, all bets are off. It's a really quick claim.
Yeah.
They just need a death certificate.
Wow.
But inside of 2 years, because I had this happen as well. I had a very good friend of mine who I was supposed to be playing basketball with, and I didn't end up going to the basketball game. He had a heart attack on the court and died.
Oh no.
And it was inside of 2 years. Turns out he had a heart condition, a 6-figure payout.
You froze up just for a second because I want to hear the story. Last thing we heard was he had a heart condition. Turned out he passed playing basketball, and then what happened after that?
All right, so I'll say it again. A friend of mine, we were moving one day, and then we got talking. You know how guys start talking about playing basketball. So we set up a game, and then for whatever reason, I didn't make it. And the game that I didn't make, and I really tore myself up because I'm saying I could have helped him, I could have saved him, I could have gave him CPR, I was doing all that stuff, but he died on the court. And it was his policy I just written for him inside of 2 years. So they did an investigation. What they found was he had a heart condition he did not know about, which is easy to check. They'll check your medical record.
Right.
If a doctor said you had a heart, he had a heart condition, then they wouldn't pay. They would have just gave back the premium. But because he didn't know, so he honestly filled out his application. He did not know he had a heart condition. They paid it out.
Well, that's actually pretty good to hear, because if there's a medical mistake that's kind of skipped over, the individual doesn't have, well, not just the individual, but the family doesn't have to essentially pay the consequences of that mishap. Right. So that I'm glad to hear that. I didn't know that. I thought, like, if it came out in the wash and there was a medical condition that was overlooked and yada yada yada, and they figured it out during the autopsy, the family was just cut. That was it.
Yeah. So another thing that people don't understand is life insurance companies are going to check your prescription history. So let me give you an example. Doctor says, hey, you're pre-diabetic.
Oh, boy.
So I'm going to write you a script for metformin. That goes into your history. You don't pick up, forget taking it. You don't even pick up the prescription because you're pre-diabetic. So you're going to get this under control with your diet and be cool
by yourself. Yeah.
But guess what? When we do the back, the underwriting, that prescription comes up. And another funny story I had a woman that was showing that she had COPD because of a certain inhaler.
Right.
So I asked her about it. She told me that her niece's boyfriend needs the inhaler, so she fills the prescription. So I said, you're telling the insurance company that you have this condition. I can't. The only time that we can defend is if they made the script and you never picked it up.
Right.
Wow.
Once you pick it up or once you refill it,
you acknowledge.
So don't do that.
And they're going to assume you have that condition. But there's another thing that happens. There are medicines for like high blood pressure that are also for congestive heart failure. They're the same thing. They're just in different doses. Congestive heart failure, the bigger dose.